The moment someone stopped speaking and started staring at the floor, everything crossed a line. No yelling, no music swell, just silence, hanging in the room while the cameras stayed on. This was not messy reality TV anymore. This was a person coming apart while production kept moving like nothing was wrong. And the fallout hit fast off camera, away from the edit, where nobody signs release forms for emotional damage. What part of this were we never supposed to see? On 90 Day Fiancé, emotional pressure sells. We all know that. Long distance love, visa clocks, family fights. But sometimes the pressure cooker bursts, and when it does, the show keeps rolling. Viewers feel it right away. Something feels off. The energy changes. The smiles look forced. Scenes jump too quickly. Conversations end early. You sense someone got pushed past their limit. And then the story rushes ahead like nothing happened. Here is where things turn uncomfortable. When emotions break down on camera, the edit decides who carries the weight. Not the network. Not the schedule. The person who cracked lives with it long after the episode ends. Online, at home, in their own head. And once you notice how fast the show moves on, you cannot unsee what was left behind. Because the real question is not who cried or who snapped. The real question is who decided to keep filming, and what mattered more in that moment. Last episode gave us the usual mix of long-distance nerves and deadline panic on 90 Day Fiancé. Someone landed at the airport already irritated. Someone else promised change with crossed fingers. Families circled the conversation like referees who forgot the rules. You laughed at the awkward hugs. You clocked the side-eye. You probably rolled your eyes when the visa clock got mentioned for the 10th time. Standard stuff. Comfort drama. The kind you half-watch while scrolling. Then the tone slipped. A conversation that should have ended kept going. A producer voice nudged for clarity. A cast member tried to explain feelings and ran out of words. The smiles stayed frozen while the eyes checked out. You know that look. The one where someone is still sitting there, but already gone. The scene cut fast after that. Too fast. The next shot felt cheerful. Different room. Different energy. Like someone swept broken glass under the rug and asked everyone to keep dancing. This is where patterns start to show. When pressure rises, the show frames it as growth. When tears show up, the edit calls it passion. When silence hits, the camera holds a second longer than comfort allows. Nobody says stop. Nobody says we got enough. The moment passes, and the story moves on. For the viewer, it feels messy. For the person living it, the mess sticks. You can see the power tilt if you pay attention. One side has a contract and a schedule. The other side has a relationship on the line and a public image at risk. When production asks for one more take or one more answer, saying no does not feel simple. Especially when money, visas, and family approval sit in the same room. And right around here, the episode stops feeling chaotic and starts feeling heavy, because editing choices start to matter. What gets shown? What gets softened? What gets skipped entirely? The audience gets a clean arc. The cast member gets the aftershock. Online comments, DMs, family calls. That imbalance never shows up on screen, yet it shapes every reaction you see next. By the end of the episode, the drama does not feel playful anymore. It feels risky, like something human got traded for a storyline, and the bill has not arrived yet. Watch how behavior shifts when pressure stacks up on 90 Day Fiancé. Nobody wakes up planning a meltdown. Stress creeps in through small choices. A pause where an answer should land. A laugh that arrives late. Someone agrees to fast, then stares at the table. These moments look harmless until you line them up. Then the pattern shows. The camera stays close. The room feels smaller. The clock ticks louder. People stop reacting and start performing survival. One cast member keeps repeating the same point with softer words each time. Another nods without hearing. That is not drama. That is someone trying to stay afloat while being watched. In my opinion, this is where reality TV forgets the human part. The show reads silence as mystery. Production reads it as tension. The person living it reads it as a warning sign. 3 readings, 1 moment. Only one of those lives with the result after the cut. And the longer the camera waits, the heavier the air gets. Pay attention to choices. Someone agrees to keep talking even after saying they feel done. Someone sits back down after standing up. Someone shares something personal because the room feels quiet, and quiet feels dangerous on TV. These are not bad people moves. These are cornered moves. When pressure keeps rising, behavior narrows, options shrink, words get shorter. You start seeing compliance instead of consent. I notice how reactions change once tears appear. The energy shifts, comfort words land flat. A producer asks for clarity. The cast member wipes their face and tries again. This is the exchange nobody celebrates. Later, the show keeps pace. The person slows down. That gap matters. Exploitation versus humanity lives right there in the timing. Something slips when emotions turn into a checkpoint instead of a boundary. There is also the moment after the moment. The part viewers rarely think about. Someone apologizes for crying. Someone says they are fine while shaking. That is a learned response. When vulnerability gets rewarded with airtime, people push past limits. Not for fame, for relief, for the hope the scene will end. In my opinion, that is the quiet trap. The show does not force tears. The setup invites them. Then comes the pivot. The edit jumps. Music returns. The next scene smiles. Online chatter fills the gap. But inside the episode, you can feel the cut, trying to outrun the weight. The person who shared too much goes quiet. Their posture closes. Answers turn clipped. This is not growth. This is retreat. Right here, the fun tone slips away and does not come back. The final beat lands without fireworks. No yelling. No exit. Someone stops speaking. Eyes lock on the floor. Hands fold. The room waits. The camera waits longer. That is the break. Not loud. Not cinematic. Human. The audience senses it. This was not playful drama. This was a shutdown, caught on schedule, and the show moved on before anyone could catch up. Once you notice the camera, you cannot stop noticing the camera on 90 Day Fiancé. Not the lens itself, but the choices around it. What stays in? What disappears? What ends right when things start to feel unsafe? A scene airs with a clean opening and a soft landing. The middle feels trimmed. You feel the jump. A sentence ends early. A reaction shot replaces a response. The story keeps moving, and the rough edges get rounded down. This is where the illusion of protection shows up. The edit feels gentle. Music lightens. Confessionals sound calm. The show presents care through absence. If the worst parts do not air, then no harm happened. That is the logic, allegedly, because off-screen consequences do not vanish when scenes do. The person still carries the moment. The audience never sees the weight, yet still reacts to the fragments left behind. Pay attention to what feels rushed. Because rush scenes usually hide something heavy, you can spot it in conversations that end to clean. A tough topic gets raised, then cut. A family member starts to push, then the scene shifts to a different couple. The edit protects pace, not people. Silence becomes the tool. Silence keeps the show safe. Silence keeps contracts intact. Silence also benefits the ones with control. The viewer gets a smooth episode. The cast member gets a memory loop. There is a fair counterpoint worth saying out loud. Reality TV needs conflict. Without tension, nobody watches. People tune in for arguments, tough talks, and emotional stakes. That part is honest. The genre depends on it. Conflict drives story. It builds arcs. It keeps lights on. That is not the issue. The issue starts when conflict bleeds into harm and the camera treats both the same. Conflict ends when the scene wraps. Harm keeps going. You see the difference in body language. Someone who argued bounces back. Someone who got pushed past comfort goes quiet. Their eyes scan the room. Their answers shrink. The edit cannot fix that. It can hide it. It can soften it. It cannot undo it. Notice how follow-up scenes avoid the topic. Nobody circles back. No space gets given to process. The show acts like resolution happened because airtime moved on. Allegedly, that benefits production flow. It protects the brand. It leaves the person alone with a moment the audience never fully saw, but still judges. Silence starts looking less like care and more like convenience. The unsettling part sits at the end of this chain. Footage does not disappear when it does not air. Files live on servers. Cuts sit in archives. Decisions get locked behind doors. The knowledge alone changes behavior. People act careful when they know a moment exists somewhere beyond their reach. Even unseen, it holds power. The episode ends. Viewers move on. The footage lives forever, waiting, shaping choices, reminding everyone involved that once the camera captured it, it never fully lets go. After the episode airs, the noise fades, but the effect does not. The cameras leave, yet the feeling of being watched sticks. On 90 Day Fiancé, you start noticing the shift in small ways. A cast member shows up guarded. Smiles feel measured. Jokes land flatter. The easy rhythm from earlier seasons feels gone. Fans sense it, even if they cannot name it. Something feels tighter, less loose, less safe. Social media fills the gaps. Posts turn shorter. Captions sound careful. Comments get limited. Stories disappear faster than usual. When someone does speak, the wording feels filtered, like each sentence passed through 5-second thoughts. First, public statements focus on gratitude, growth, privacy. All fine on the surface. Yet the tone tells a different story. Someone learned the cost of saying too much. This is the moment where fame stops feeling loud and starts feeling close. The long tail of filming shows up in posture and pace. People pause before answering even simple questions. They scan reactions. They laugh, then check faces. This is not shyness. This is self-protection. When your worst moment lives somewhere on a hard drive, unseen but real, the mind does not forget. Being watched becomes internal. The camera does not need to be there anymore. Fans notice energy changes and start guessing. Some show concern, others push harder. More comments, more theories, more pressure. The audience moves on to the next couple, yet the person stays stuck in review mode. Every choice feels recorded, even when it is not. In my opinion, this is where psychological imprisonment takes shape. Not bars, not rules. Anticipation, fear of missteps, fear of edits that never come, but still shape behavior. Right around here, viewers who stay start feeling uneasy, even if they cannot explain why. The show keeps rolling. New drama arrives. Fresh faces fill the screen. The earlier moment becomes background noise, but the damage keeps working quietly. Relationships strain under the weight of caution. Trust thins. The cast member who once spoke freely now chooses silence over honesty. Not because growth happened, because risk feels too high. Public appearances feel different. Interviews sound rehearsed. Answers stay broad. When asked about hard moments, responses circle back to learning and moving forward. Nothing wrong with that. Yet the absence speaks. Something remains untouched. Something off limits. The story moved on, but the person did not. By the time the season wraps, the audience feels closure. Arcs feel complete. Conflicts look resolved. Off screen, the impact keeps unfolding. Anxiety around filming days. Relief when schedules end. Tension before each new episode drop. The cycle repeats. Episodes pass. Clips trend. Comments pile up. The emotional tab stays open. The hardest part sits in this quiet truth. Reality TV does not end when episodes do. For the people inside it, the moment lives on, shaping how they speak, move, and trust. Even when the screen cuts to black, the aftermath keeps playing. When the pace speeds up, the power lines become clearer. On 90 Day Fiancé, one side holds schedules, edits, and contracts. The other side holds a storyline and a personal life tangled together. No speech is needed. The pattern explains itself. Fame brings access and money. It also pulls control away. In small pieces, decisions feel shared until they stop feeling equal. People did sign up. That part matters. Nobody wandered onto a set by accident. They agreed to cameras, questions, and pressure. That truth deserves space. Yet agreement at the start does not freeze context in place. Once children enter the picture, the stakes rise. Once immigration status becomes public, pressure doubles. Once income ties to airtime, silence starts costing more than speech. You see it when someone hesitates before pushing back. You hear it when a voice softens mid-sentence. Consent sounds different when walking away risks public judgment or financial stress. Choice looks clean on paper. It feels heavier in real life, especially when millions watch clips without knowing what got cut. This is where the balance tips, and the room starts feeling smaller again. Production does not need to threaten. The structure does the work. Show up, share more, stay available, keep the story moving. Autonomy shrinks through routine. The cast member adapts, not because they lack strength, because adapting keeps peace. Peace keeps filming smooth. Smooth filming protects the paycheck. Public reaction adds another layer. Online opinions harden fast. Once a narrative sticks, reversing it feels impossible. A moment taken out of context lives forever. The person becomes careful. They weigh words. They avoid scenes, not to manipulate, to survive the cycle. this is not about villains. It is about leverage. One side resets every season, the other carries history forward. The show refreshes, the person stays the same. Contracts end, clips do not. Fame opens doors. It also locks some behind you. Remember that silent room from the start, where everything crossed a line. That moment holds more weight now, not because of tears or tension, because it shows what happens when power and pressure meet a human limit. The cameras stayed on, the system kept pace, the person absorbed the cost. Once you see it through that lens, the silence no longer feels neutral. It feels chosen. Once the episode hits feeds, the crowd splits fast on 90 Day Fiancé. Team this, team that. Red flags versus ride or die. Comment sections turn into scoreboards. People reward the loudest moment with the most likes. Chaos climbs because chaos travels. Clips get trimmed shorter. Context thins. Reactions harden. The story shrinks into winners and losers, and the human part slips out of frame. You see how fandom fuels pressure. A cast member breathes wrong and screenshots spread. A pause gets labeled guilt. A tear gets labeled strategy. The edit already narrowed the view. The comments narrow it more. Public opinion becomes another camera, always on, never tired. People say they would walk away. People say they would stay and fight. Both sound easy from a couch. Here is the uncomfortable check. Would you stay if walking meant losing income? Would you walk if silence turned strangers against you? Would you trust editing after seeing how fast a scene can get softened or skipped? These are not traps. These are choices people face with a spotlight overhead. When comments start writing the story, the pressure multiplies and nobody calls cut. The crowd loves intensity. Calm feels boring online. Nuance feels slow. Platforms reward spikes, not steady truth. So reactions push behavior. Cast members explain less. They defend more, or they vanish. None of that fixes the gap between what happened and what aired. It widens it. Some fans push back and ask for grace. Others demand accountability without seeing the whole tape. Both sides believe they are helping. The result still lands on the person in the middle. They read, they absorb, they adjust, they carry another layer of weight. The episode never shows. This is where stakes rise again. Public opinion locks narratives in place. Once a label sticks, it follows everywhere. Work, family, daily life. The show moves on to the next fight. The audience scrolls. The cost keeps accruing. And here's the turn. The real price does not hit online first. It hits at home, where cameras never roll, and where the story refuses to end. Being real once paid off on 90 Day Fiancé. Cry on camera and viewers called you honest. Speak from the gut and fans called you brave. That version of authenticity built followings and storylines. Then something shifted. The same openness started carrying risk. Words once praised turned into proof. Tears turned into screenshots. A rough moment turned into a label. You can feel the change before anyone says it out loud. A cast member who used to speak freely starts choosing silence. Answers shorten. Emotions get folded away. Not because growth happened, because openness stopped feeling safe. When every reaction gets archived and replayed, being real turns into exposure. This is the point where honesty stops feeling rewarded and starts feeling dangerous. Moments the audience loved before now feel like traps. Share too much and it lives forever. Share too little and suspicion grows. Either way, the person loses control of the story. Behavior shifts follow. Less spontaneity, more caution. Smiles appear on cue. Vulnerability stays locked behind neutral phrases. The audience senses the gap. Something feels missing. The energy drops. Viewers comment about someone seeming different, distant, off. The show fills the space with new drama, yet the absence lingers. What disappeared was not personality. It was trust. This is the emotional peak because the trade-off becomes clear. Reality TV asks for truth, then it charges interest on it. Being real does not end with applause. It ends with consequences, online judgment, family strain, internal second-guessing. The camera leaves, but the expectation stays. Right here, the core truth lands and it does not feel comfortable. The person did not fail the show. The system failed to protect the person. Authenticity became a liability once it threatened control. Once it slowed production. Once it revealed something messy and uncontained. The edit can clean a story. It cannot restore a sense of safety. The tension hangs unresolved. The show keeps going. The audience keeps watching. The cast member keeps adjusting. Being real still matters. It just costs more than anyone admits. Everything circles back to that quiet moment on 90 Day Fiancé, where the room went still and the cameras did not. No lesson wrapped it up. No apology fixed it. The episode ended. The season rolled on, and the system kept working exactly as designed. Somewhere, the footage still exists. Not aired, not forgotten, just stored, holding weight without sound. What viewers see is a story shaped to move forward. What stays hidden is the echo, the pause after filming, the nights spent replaying. What could resurface? The awareness that even unseen moments can still influence choices. Reality TV sells access, but it never shows the full cost of being observed when things go too far. The show continues because it always does. New couples arrive. Fresh tension fills the screen. The audience adjusts and keeps watching. Yet the pattern remains. Pressure builds. Someone breaks. The edit smooths it out. Silence does the rest. And here is the uncomfortable tease. This is not the only time it happens. Another storyline is already louder, messier, and harder to dismiss. The warning signs are clearer. The reactions sharper. The fallout closer to the surface. Because once you recognize the pattern, you start seeing it everywhere.